Hi clarinet students, I noticed that before we went on our break here, a lot of you were working on page 8, about to move up to the advanced band. So I wanted to make a video about some of the things we talk about on page 8, so that maybe if you'd like to work on that for when we ever go back to school, or if you wanted to make a video for me to submit, that these are the things you need to do to finish up that page 8. And I know you all really want to get to that milestone and get past number 57. So on page 8, I also noticed almost every single one of you are done with number 52, and those of you who are on page 8 have already learned the basics of saying Titi when you see eighth notes. First of all, we talked about how eighth notes, they have the beam across the top of the two notes. The name of those notes is not Titi. I know in music class we say Titi for those. I do too, because it's great for tonguing in band. But that's kind of how we sing it, not how it's called. That's not its name. So I just want everyone to understand that those notes are called eighth notes. So when we speak about them, we want to sound like a musician, and we want to call them their name. I want to call them eighth notes. So you can watch any one of the videos about these songs on the Clarinet playlist. You go to Clarinet page 8 playlist, and you can hear me play each one of these songs individually. So I'm not going to play all these songs right now. I'm just going to give you some tricks and hints about how to do this. The first one is probably the one we need to talk about the most, which is Michael Finnegan, number 53. This has what's called a first and a second ending. So if you imagine this song is written in 3 parts, the first 2 measures, the second 2 measures, which are under the number 1 bracket, we call that a first ending. Then you see a little repeat sign with 2 dots, and then you see the third section of the song, which is the last 2 measures, and that's under a number 2 bracket, which we call the second ending. So I'm going to explain this to you as I play. So the first thing you do is you're going to play the first 2 measures, obviously. I'm going to start by saying ta, ta, ti, ti, ta. The second thing I do is I go right into the first ending bracket and I continue to play. Now I've seen the 2 little dots, which means repeat, so I can't go past them. I have to bounce back to the beginning and play the first section again. Now here's the only thing special about these first and second endings. I can't play the first ending again because it's for the first time only, and I've already played it. So at this point where the first ending bracket begins, I'm going to jump over and play the second ending instead. Since this is a pretty complicated concept for me to teach you over a YouTube video without me sitting right there, I'm going to play it again. I'm going to explain it a little bit less this time so that you can hear how the song fits together when you do the repeats. So here I go at the beginning. First ending. Repeat. Jump to the second ending. Now if you want to hear that without stops, go over to my video on the playlist Clarinet page 8 and click on the video for 53. You can play it over and over and over again, even play along with my video. Now first and second endings in lessons, I don't really get too picky about it as long as you understand it and you can play the notes really well. So let's talk about the notes of Michael Finnegan. The biggest thing everyone struggles with is that middle measure you're going to see where it has that bottom finger B. We don't use this note very often in the beginner book at this point. However, here there are 4 of them in one measure. So it's going to be played B, D, B, B, B. What I always ask everyone is, what is wrong with my B if it looks like this? And they say to me, well, your 3rd finger is missing. So watch what happens if I were to play it incorrectly. I would go B, D, B, B, B. Wait a minute, I'm missing this finger. So here it is again, correctly that middle measure, B, D, B, B, B. So I have to put both of these down to go from B to D. Look for tricky spots in this song. This is not one that a lot of people struggle with. So as long as you practice it enough, you'll get through it. Number 54, One and Fun. I just want to point out to you that the first pattern of the song, G, G, A, G, E, that repeats 3 more times after this. So the first measure is G, G, A, G, E. The 3rd measure is G, G, A, G, E. Measure 5 is G, G, A, G, E. And measure 7, the second to last measure, is G, G, A, G, E. So if you practice those 5 notes, G, G, A, G, E, a bunch of times in a row, then you'll be all set to start playing this song. I have to make sure I start by saying Titi, because it's the very first pattern in the song, very first rhythm. And that's the pattern you need to practice the most. Now the song To and You, I don't think there's any real tricky spots in the song. However, I'm going to play the last 2 measures with you a few times. That kind of gets a little jumpy, but for clarinet, this is a super simple song. So I'm at the end. You'll probably be able to figure out where I am by how it sounds, but I'm going to play the part at the end that goes G, E, E, C, D, E, D, C. So the last 8 notes of the song. 56 I really want to talk about because it gets a little tricky for people. The 8th notes are scattered throughout the song. They're not in the same place in each tonal pattern in the song. Also, there's some B middle fingers, some B naturals middle finger that's thrown in there. So I think everyone can figure out maybe the first 9 notes without me. I'm going to start on the middle of the first line where it starts F, F. So that part with the B's, you're going to want to play that over and over and over again until you get it. Same thing with the music that's right underneath that, except I start with 8th notes this time. I don't want to let that B surprise me. So any place in number 56 that you see B's is something you're going to need to practice. Now mix the 8ths, 57. This one is tricky for most instruments, but not so tricky for clarinet. The only advice I have for you is that you should play the first pattern a few times till it's almost memorized, like this. Excuse me, like this. And then take a break and try to play the second pattern a bunch of times till it's almost memorized. And then I would put it all together. But like I said, because the note A is so easy for clarinets, this song is not really a big deal. All right, try to play your instruments as much as you can. I'm going to be starting Class Dojo, so if you do practice something, see if you can video yourself and figure out how to submit it to me online. Until then, stay safe and healthy, everybody. Bye-bye.